he grabbed it pretty forcefully, and fortunately, the screw was loose, holding the camera to the tripod. So when he grabbed it, jerks it accidentally to one side, and perfectly frames the eruption of Mount St. Helens in doing so. And you can see that if this hadn't happened, a good part of the action would have taken outside the viewfinder of the camera. So as Gary starts to watch this massive landslide come down off Mount St. Helens, the sight of this much rock coming down at once is so visually overwhelming that he couldn't even look through the viewfinder of the camera. It was just it kind of gave you motion sickness is what he described. So he starts to focus on taking pictures. Now, back then, there was this stuff in a camera called film, right? So you had to press the button, manually forward, press the button. And Gary's really excited at first, so he is taking pictures as fast as he can, but then he realizes he only has 20 shots on this roll, okay? And believe it or not, he's very concerned that all he's going to get is pictures of a landslide. So he actually slowed down the rate he took pictures quite a bit. Well, his friends start gathering their belongings here. From the time Gary took his first picture here to this last picture here is 1 minute and 30 seconds, okay? And Gary is a really smart guy because right now he is sitting in the passenger seat of the front car and they are backing up and leaving. And all 22 people at this site survived just fine and dandy. The site they were at ended up being a half a mile away from where the trees stopped being killed. So they were in the perfect location to capture all this. And Gary, more than any other human being that day, I think, his pictures really documented one very important story, and that's that Mount St. Helens fell apart in this gigantic landslide. You know, people look at the pictures of the explosions later, and it's easy to think it blew apart, but he really showed us that it fell apart. And when you first look at these pictures, it kind of appears as if there's one big slump going down, but in reality, this landslide actually came down in 3 gigantic slabs of rock that a geologist would call a slide block. And you're looking at the first slide block right there, and that was that bulging mountainside. The entire north face of the volcano broke loose in one gigantic slab, and it starts coming racing down. 30 seconds later, all the rock in the middle part of the mountain, from the middle part of the summit down to the middle part of the crater floor, breaks loose in a second gigantic slab. It comes down. And then 1 minute and 30 seconds after that, all the rock in the very back of the crater, including the southern summit, breaks loose. It comes down in one big piece. Does that make sense to everyone? 1, 2, 3 slabs, quick succession. You can always tell where these ended up just by looking at the valley floor right behind me here. You can see a lot of funny, lumpy, bumpy mounds of earth all over the valley floor, over this direction, over in here. And each one of those mounds, some of them are gray, some of them are brown, some of them are light tan. Each one of the mounds is called a hummock. A hummock is a fancy word for a great, big, huge, solid chunk of Mount St. Helens. So slide blocks break into smaller pieces.